The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, we're live once again. It's another day here in Japan, another day here at the luxury True School Sports estate. Reporting to you guys live and direct from Yokohama, Kanagawa, Japan. It is currently 9:34 a.m. here in Japan. It is June 16th. So listen, guys, it's great to be here. It is, in fact, the aftermath of Richardson Hitchins versus George Kambosos Jr., an absolute ass whooping, an absolute demolition job. And truth be told, the ideal, the perfect first title defense for Richardson Hitchins of the IBF title. And just the kind of performance you want, because for Hitchins, he's been a fighter that has this reputation for being boring, for being negative, and so this is exactly what the doctor ordered for his career. So yeah, we're gonna get into all that. Hitchins at 140, Hitchins against Haney, Hitchins against Gary Anton Russell, Eddie Hearn talking about him being disloyal, Kambosos getting disrespected by Paul Malignaggi, what's left for him in his career. We're going to get into all that. So listen, you guys, do me a favor. Run it up. Smash the like button. We're back. We're live again. I know it's been a couple days. With the conclusion of this fight, the next big fight on the schedule, guys, is the most explosive fight in boxing. The fight that's kept me in Japan damn near a month longer than I should be in Japan. And that is the fight between Brian Norman Jr. versus Jen Sasaki for the WBO welterweight title. There's been a lot of content here on True School Sports, and there will continue to be more content regarding that fight. I'm gonna go live the morning of the fight. And then I got two videos. I got a prediction video / breakdown, and then I got like a history video about that fight. So a lot to discuss with that fight. Only a couple days to discuss it. But listen, guys, before we get into Hitchins talk and all that, let's go ahead and let's acknowledge the fine folks that have come in here, that are making their presence felt, and showing that love and that support to True School Sports and the Empire. So we got David Esther in the building. He says, "I love to talk some boxing." Yes, sir. Good to see you, David. Hope all is well. We got Jeffrey the Pig. Hey, True School, what's good, Jeffrey? Hope you're well. Good to see you in the chat again. Brennan Smith, long time no see. Brennan, good to see you. He says hello. Jeffrey says that you got to respect Kambosos for making the most of his career and getting those paydays. You can't fault a man for getting a bag. No, you can't, because at the end of the day, we all got things you want to do in life, and anything you want to do in this life requires money and resources, and so he's acquired that, and I'm sure he's gonna have a blessed life after boxing. He's got a wonderful family, a wonderful wife, and doing great things doing great for himself outside the ring. What I will say is that the number one person that George Kambosos Jr. can thank for getting him to this position, even though they don't work together anymore, is a guy named Peter Kahn, the manager. In my opinion, George Kambosos Jr. proves that Peter Kahn might just be the best manager in all of boxing, because George Kambosos Jr. is still reaping the benefits of the things that Peter Kahn did for him during their time together. So yeah, shout out to Peter Kahn, shout out to George Kambosos. Daniel Rubin, what's good, Daniel? Daniel Rubin in the building. Hey, they don't pay me to say this, but I fuck with them so much that I'll say it anyway. Shout out to Pro Box TV. Daniel Rubin in the building. Of Pro Box, he says, the untouchable. Let's go, BT. How is Japan? Japan is amazing, man. Japan's wonderful. Japan's always treated me very well, and I've tried to do my best to treat Japan well in return. So for the most part, it's been good. We've had some interesting experiences here recently with I'll just say people in the boxing world. The other day, yeah, if you guys want to hear the story, I'll tell it to you later in the live. But the other day, who was it? Was it Ohashi Gym? They were threatening to arrest me the other day. That shit was crazy. But other than that, we've been good. Other than threatening to get arrested the other day, we've been pretty good. But good to see you, Daniel. Tin Fam said, keep up the great work, BT. Good to see you, champ. Yes, I will definitely continue to do my best. I think Norman is gonna stop him. Yeah, we'll see. You know, I'm not gonna say my prediction yet because I'm gonna do an official video on that. But it's very possible. Brian Norman hits like a truck. Jin hits like a truck. Nothing will really surprise me in this fight. Norman laced out with my prediction. Zaki is tough, but his defense is too leaky, and it ain't good for someone like a guy like Brian Norman Jr. So yeah, man, it's the most explosive fight in boxing. I think, you know, Brian Norman's got some things to look out for. Jim's got some things to look out for. But I'll have my official breakdown and prediction video the day before the fight, so that'll be about a day or so. So stay tuned for that. But Ohashi as well. Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's insane, man. Yeah, they were threatening to arrest me the other day because they said I was trespassing at the media workout, even though they told Brian Norman's dad told the people that I was fine, and they left me in the gym. But I got a message the next day. It's just crazy. It was insane. But you know, God protects us out here. You know, everywhere we go. What is the hype for Brian's fight out there? I would say it's good hype. I mean, it's not like an Inoue fight, but you know what is in Japan. Nobody gets that kind of hype out here. He's the golden boy of Japanese boxing, but I would say it's good hype amongst the boxing community. There's signs in, you know, there's big signs at the train station where Jin is from, and it's a fight that's being that a lot of boxing fans in Japan are very, very excited about, because it's very seldom that you get a Japanese fighter fighting for a welterweight title. In fact, it's only happened 2 times in history before this. One Japanese fighter fought Marlon Stalin and Mark Breland for the title, and he lost both times. And another guy, he fought Pepino Cuevas and lost. So I believe this is only the 4th time in history that a Japanese welterweight is challenging for the title, and only the 3rd fighter. Jin's only the 3rd fighter ever to do it. So yeah, it's a historic occasion. All right, a couple more comments, because I'm letting people get in here. I'm letting people get into the live before I really get into my Hitchins talk. But a couple more comments, and we'll get into the Hitchins stuff. You guys smash the like button, subscribe, super chat. We here, and let me know, like, where are you watching from? What city? What state? What continent? What country? Leave all that in the comments down below. So El Pacini with the Ninja Turtles picture. Shout out to the Ninja Turtles. He says, BT, what's the biggest non-Japanese population in Japan? That's a great question. I think it really depends on what part of Japan you go to. So like right now, I'm in Yokohama. Believe it or not, Yokohama has a lot of Brazilians. You see you'll see Brazilians in Yokohama. I've seen Australians in certain parts of Japan, because, you know, you'll get a lot of Australian foreign exchange students, because Australia in Japan, they have a lot of foreign exchange programs, and it's kind of close, not super close, but, you know, closer than like America or other, you know, countries. So I would say like those countries, but for the most part, I would say 90 like 5%, maybe probably even higher than that, of the population is just straight Japanese. So yeah, man. What are the best fights to look up for the Jin fight? Probably Keita Obara is definitely where you should start. Shoki Sakai, because that was his first 12-rounder. That's another one you can look up. And then he had a couple fights on the domestic level. Obviously the one loss to Andy Hiroka is another one you want to look up. And then he had one fight. There was one fight where he got dropped twice and then got up and stopped the guy. What was the guy's name he knocked out? It was I would probably say, more than any other fight, if you want to know what kind of fighter Jin Tazaki is, go watch his fight against Kaki Yuba. That was July of 2021. That fight right there will kind of tell you everything you need to know. That fight will tell you everything you need to know about Jin Tazaki. That fight, Keita Obara, and yeah, I think those are all good fights. But let me see. BT from Florida and was wondering, do you think Hitchins, who fought Kambosos? BT from Florida was wondering, who do you think that Hitchins who fought Kambosos beats Matias? Do you think the Hitchins that fought Kambosos beats Matias? I think Hitchins will have a chance to beat just about anybody at 140, just because he's got arguably the best jab in boxing. And if you can't get past it, you lose. But I think Matias, even now, still, like, Matias is still one of the guys that has the toughest styles for him. And do you guys know who knows that more than anybody? Hitchins. Hitchins himself knows how tough of a fight that is for him, because Hitchins is the kind of fighter that doesn't like volume. He doesn't like not being able to keep guys on the end of his punches and dealing with volume, because Matias is the kind of fighter that will sap your energy and, you know, make you fight when you don't want to fight. So listen, let's get it. You know, we've had 10 minutes now. Let's get into the Hitchins talk. Make sure you guys smash the like button. Let me take a sip of this water right quick, because I'm about to go in right now. It may take me a whole hour to get through all my talking points with this, because there's a lot to discuss. But we'll start with the obvious, and I want to state this, and I want to get it on record, because really and truthfully, Hitchins beat down George Kambosos Jr. better than Haney and Lomachenko did, which, you know, you can make the you can make the statement and say, well, Lomachenko and Haney, they fought George before, so they kind of softened him up for Hitchins. But you got to remember, Hitchins is not a knockout puncher. He only had 7 knockouts in 19 fights coming into this fight. He has a reputation amongst a lot of boxing fans as being boring, being negative, I mean, some people have even went as far as to say that Hitchins is a bootleg Devin Haney. He's a Temu Devin Haney. He's a Dollar General Devin Haney. He's a dollar store Devin Haney. He's a discount Devin Haney, right? So I think in this fight, this disproves that he is a discount Devin Haney, because the truth is, guys, Devin Haney fought George Kambosos not once but twice, and he couldn't stop George Kambosos in 24 rounds. And unlike Devin Haney, we're just talking boxing. It's no hating. So if you're a Devin Haney fanboy, don't get offended. Just go back and watch the tape, because the tape doesn't lie. What the ring is the chamber of truth, and the ring does not lie. Devin Haney had 24 rounds to stop George Kambosos Jr. And in that fight, in those fights, there was a lot of holding. He was clinching a lot to kind of stymie the aggression of George Kambosos Jr. Hitchins wasn't really holding like that. Hitchins wasn't holding. He was keeping George at the end of that jab. He was keeping George just controlled with the jab and the straight right hand. So he really, to me, in my opinion, if there was ever a fight where you can stop that rhetoric, stop that narrative that Hitchins is like Devin Haney, because even I've said it in the past at some points, this is the fight where you got to stop saying that, because they had one of Devin's best opponents, right? Best wins. Hitchins fought him and stopped him the first time. Devin Haney had 24 rounds and never looked that sensational against George Kambosos Jr. So I think Hitchins, I've said it before in other lives, other videos. I'll say it again, and that will actually pivot into my next talking point about Hitchins and Devin Haney. And I'm gonna camp out here for a little bit, because this needs to be said and this needs to be told to the boxing world, because Hitchins has a better jab than Devin Haney. Yes, I said it. He has a better jab than Devin Haney, because first and foremost, Hitchins, I think Devin Haney, in terms of athleticism and athletic ability, even though I don't think Devin Haney is an elite athletic fighter, he's a slightly more athletic fighter than Richardson Hitchins, right? And I think if you were looking for something that separates Richardson Hitchins and Devin Haney, I would say in the athleticism department, he would have an advantage there. But where Hitchins, I feel, has an advantage over Devin Haney in almost every fighter in boxing, you can make the argument that Hitchins has the best jab in boxing, not just better than Haney, but better than every fighter in boxing, is his jab. One thing about Hitchins, and I said it in my post-round review video, I'll say it here, Hitchins is so hard to beat because Hitchins is one of the most mentally disciplined fighters in boxing. And you know what? We'll go to screen share, because that's exactly what I said in one of my tweets. I said it right here. Where are we at? Right here. Look, right here in this tweet, I said Richardson Hitchins is one of the most mentally disciplined fighters in boxing. He's going to be incredibly tough to knock off. Great performance versus George Kambosos Jr. Now, the reason I said that, the reason why that's the case, it's not because Hitchins is the fastest. No. It's not because Hitchins hits the hardest. No. It's because Hitchins knows who he is. He knows his strengths, and he does everything in his power to fight to his strengths as much as possible. You see, guys, there's many talented fighters in boxing, but a lot of fighters, they don't fight to their strengths for as long as possible, because sometimes they get prideful. They get stubborn. They're worried about what the fans are going to say. They're worried about, you know, what people are going to think of them. And Hitchins, one thing I do like about Hitchins as a fighter is for better, for worse, for good, bad, or indifferent, Hitchins has this thing about him where he just doesn't give a fuck about what nobody else outside the ring is saying, which as a fighter, you really shouldn't. You shouldn't care what True School Sports or the Boxing Voice or Sean Dittel or any other boxing media person or any of the fans are saying, because really and truthfully, this is your life, this is your prerogative, and you got to fight the fight that works for you. And so guess what? The fight that has ultimately worked the best for Hitchins in the pros is using that long, rangy frame of his, using that jab, and boxing tall off that long, rangy frame and that jab of his. And that's what makes him hard to beat. It's not anything physical. It's not, it's not anything, in terms of athletic ability. It's his mental discipline to the sport, his mental application to the sport. He knows who he is, and he fights inside of that. And obviously, he hasn't proven as much as a guy like Dimitri Bivol as of yet. But I think he has that same quality that Bivol has. Bivol is the same way. Bivol is so effective, and he's arguably, he's arguably the best pure boxer in the sport today. But Hitchins is well on his way as well. But Bivol didn't get knockouts. He hasn't got a knockout he didn't get a knockout for many years because, he didn't ever fight outside of himself. He knew who he was, and he never did more than what was necessary on the night. And Hitchins, in many cases, is like that. But you see, Hitchins, to me, in my eyes, he's went up a level in this fight. My perception of Hitchins has went up a level in this fight because, he gets compared to his peers like Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, these kind of guys, even Keyshawn Davis. And the problem with many of these guys is that when they fight inferior opponents like George Kambosos Jr., they don't go the extra mile to actually stop him. But Hitchins did, and he got the job done, and he did it in sensational fashion. So, and then he had one of the best call-outs I've seen of any fighter in a while. So to me, if you're Keith Conley, if you're his manager, this is like a manager's dream. This kind of performance, that kind of call-out. And yeah, like as it says right here in the tweet on screen, it says Hitchins did everything Keyshawn Davis was supposed to do in his first scheduled title defense. The future is bright for Africa, yes. And for those of you who don't know, they call Hitchins Africa. Because I don't know why. I would assume and presume that it's because he's like African jungle black, but I don't know why, but they call him that. But yeah, like Keyshawn Davis had a homecoming defense against the De Los Santos that went up in smokes and was a PR nightmare. Hitchins was the whole opposite side of the spectrum. He had a homecoming fight in New York City, and it was a PR dream. So, definitely his value is definitely up. And I think, I'm going to tell you guys what I know. Hitchins has a better jab than Devin Haney. And his jab for me right now in boxing is definitely top five for sure. I don't know where it will fall in the top five, but it's in the top five. His jab up there for me, it's up there with Better Biev. It's up there with Bivol. It's up there with Jamal Charlo. It's up there with the Virgil Ortizes, the Inoue's. Like he's got one of those type of jabs, one of those world class, creme de la creme, top shelf jabs. And Devin Haney too. Like I don't want to disparage Devin Haney and downplay him. He still has a great jab as well, and I would still say his jab is in the top 10 as well. But I just think for my money, when it comes to who has mastered the jab better, who really understands distance more, who really knows how to command a fight with just the jab alone and nothing else, Hitchins has Devin Haney beat, because Devin Haney had a severe flaw that was terribly exploited by Ryan Garcia when he would jab, and his right hand would be low as hell when he would jab. He'd be doing the bow and arrow, and that's why Ryan Garcia kept hitting him repeatedly over and over and over and over again with the jab. So yeah, those my initial talking points about Hitchins. But let me go ahead and go to the chat, because I know you guys are chiming in, and I know you guys are giving like really good comments. Let me go ahead and read some comments. So we said let me see, we got my man let's see, I want to focus on Hitchins for a second, because I see people commenting about Jin. And guys, there will be a live for Jin and Norman. We'll talk about it later in the live. I want to try to keep the focus, keep the main thing, keep the main thing as the main thing for this live. Hitchins, 140 and those kind of things. Did I watch Leanna Cruz fight? No, I've never seen her fight, but she's an attractive woman. Shout out to Leanna Cruz. You know, good fighter, attractive woman. Shout out to Leanna Cruz. Um, but to be fair, let me see. Action-wise, Hitchins and Matias style makes for a better fight than Puello and Matias. I agree. That's actually you're right. I think so because I think whenever you get a boxer and a swarmer, you always get good action for the most part. Hitchins is extremely sharp and insanely disciplined. He is because I think discipline to me, because I think a lot of boxing fans, they'll confuse discipline with fighting negatively. Like, I think there's a fine line between being a disciplined fighter and then having a negative style. Now, Hitchins has shown on a couple of occasions in his career that he is a disciplined fighter. Shakur Stevenson is a negative fighter. Devin Haney is a negative fighter. These are fighters that excessively clinch, and these are fighters that when they have inferior competition in front of them that they can knock out, that they don't knock out, and then they make a bunch of excuses as to why they didn't get the knockout. Now, Hitchins doesn't have a high knockout ratio, but Kambosos to me marks the second time in his career where he stopped an opponent of a good caliber. This fight, and then when he fought Yomar Alamo was a Puerto Rican Olympian. That was a fight at the time that Hitchins was looked at to possibly lose at that point in his career. A lot of people picked against Hitchins in that fight, and he did Yomar Alamo bad, just did him dirty. I think he stopped him in like 3 or 4 rounds. It wasn't even a long fight. It might have been 3 or 4 rounds. I can't remember how many rounds it was, but he stopped him as well. So Hitchins is showing you that when a guy don't belong in there and they can't even take his power, he gets them out of there, and to me that shows that he's on a high level. Hitchins actually has a more pleasant style than Alberto Puello. Ooh, David, I don't think people are ready for that conversation because Puello is a good fighter, but Puello doesn't get the negative. He doesn't get the negative publicity that Hitchins gets for being a negative fighter. But I would actually agree with you. I agree with that. The Haneys were saying that Hitchins got hit too much when in reality Devin couldn't do what Hitchins did to Kambosos. Well, the reason he got hit is because he put his foot on the gas and he put his foot on the gas and he tried to go the extra mile to stop Kambosos because Kambosos was not on his level. And we all knew this going in, but Hitchins showed it on the night. So that's why he's getting extra credit for what he's done. Let me see. I don't know why. They call him Africa. I really believe that they call him Africa because he's black like an African. Like he's not from Africa. He's from his heritage is Haitian and he's from New York City. So he's not from Africa. So my only inclination as to why they call him Africa is that. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it is. Let me see. We got how diminished do I think George Kambosos was? I mean, look, I don't want to downplay Hitchins' performance, but I mean, George has been getting beat up ever since he beat Tio. And it's, to be honest, the only fight that I think George actually won since he beat Tio is his last fight before Hitchins against Jake Wiley. Every fight excluding Jake Wiley, I thought he lost. He lost to Haney twice. He lost to Hitchins. He lost to Lomachenko, and really he got a gift decision against Maxie Hughes. But he don't want to talk about that. George, with all respect to George is quick to talk about fighting Devin Haney, Tio, Lomachenko. But notice George Kambosos Jr. never mentions Maxie Hughes. Gee, I wonder why. Hitchins was my favorite sleeper to take over 140, but he doesn't have anything for Gary and to Russell. That fight won't happen. Well, you know what? That's the perfect segue. That's the hold on. That's the perfect segue because that's actually the fight I think he should take next. I now look, I'm gonna put my commissioner's hat on because really and truthfully, guys, if it was up to your boy BT, if it was up to True School Sports, me, that fight between Gary Anton Russell and Richard Hitchins will be the next fight happening in boxing. And I think it's actually the fight to make at 140, not Haney and not Teofimo Lopez. And let me explain why. Number one, let me stand up because I want to stand up. I want to pace. I want to pace around a little bit because sometimes I operate better when I walk around. But look, really and truthfully, guys, Hitchins, he said it himself that this fight with Matchroom Boxing, it was the last fight on his Matchroom Boxing deal. So he can now go explore other options, other avenues for promoters to promote his fights. I think Hitchins is perfect for the PBC platform. I wouldn't sign anything long term if I was him, but if you could sign a one-off deal and get the Gary Anton Russell fight, I think it's perfect because PBC, one thing that they're really good at that other promoters aren't is pushing their fighters beyond the realms of hardcore boxing fans. Like, for example, because I think one of my good friends, one of the loyal viewers, my boy Toronto Tokyo on Instagram. We talk all the time on Instagram. He made a great point on Twitter. He said that, look, Hitchins beat the brakes off of Kambosos, had this viral moment calling out Kambosos, and you don't really see ESPN Ringside on Instagram posting them. A lot of the mainstream platforms that cover boxing haven't really posted Hitchins, but anytime PBC has a fight, all those fighters get posted by like really mainstream platforms. They have a way of pushing the fighter past the realms of hardcore boxing fans, and I think for Hitchins, that's what he needs at this point in his career. And the great thing about Hitchins is that he loves to talk. He's naturally a shit talker. Like he's a real New Yorker. Like New Yorkers are anybody who has friends in real life that knows people from New York, especially from the hood, because I got plenty of friends from New York that are from the hood, like from the sticks, from the trenches, from the Bronx, from Brooklyn, like from real grimy parts of New York. Anybody from those communities, they know how to shit talk. And Hitchins is no different, right? So that being said, I think he would really flourish on PBC. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect of that fight is the fact that they have history. They fought in the amateurs, and Gary Anton Russell beat Hitchins like Gary Anton Russell beat Jaron Ennis and beat many guys in the amateurs. So you have that angle, you have that narrative and that storyline heading into the fight. And then thirdly, I just think it's a really good fight because you're gonna have Hitchins who has shown that he can be aggressive, and I actually think that in that fight, Hitchins would get aggressive with Gary Anton Russell because Gary Anton Russell has shown at certain times in his career that he can be a bit of I don't want to say a front runner because he's not a front runner, but he does fade towards the back half of a fight at times. And I think that Hitchins, with his ability to master distance, control a fight, would actually be an aggressive counterpuncher in that fight and actually maybe even hurt Gary Anton Russell. I think, and then Gary only knows how to fight one way, which is basically come forward, throw a high volume of punches. So he's going to give Hitchins all these opportunities to counterpunch, and then to top it all off, last but not least, it's a unification fight. It is a IBF. What is it? WBA, IBF, WBA unification fight. So, in my opinion, if I'm Keith Conley, if I had the privilege to manage Hitchins and I'm in Keith Conley's shoes, I would go ahead and the first people I would talk to would be PBC because they need fights, they need dates, they need matchups, and I think that would be a matchup that would be worth taking a look into. Devin Haney fight is a good fight, but let's be real. If Hitchins beats Haney, it doesn't really do for him what it would have did for him, a year ago. Haney got destroyed by Ryan Garcia. Then he sued Ryan Garcia, so that made him look bad in the eyes of a lot of people. Then he fought Jose Ramirez, completely shot to pieces Jose Ramirez, and couldn't do to a shot to pieces Jose Ramirez what Hitchins did to a let's be real, a compromise shot to pieces. Inferior George Kambosos Jr. So that win doesn't really do what it used to do. And then as far as Teofimo Lopez has not been fighting, and he hasn't looked good in a very, very long time. So it would be a unification fight. Hitchins could get the Ring Magazine title, but I actually think the fight to make right now, and the one that would do probably the most for his career and bring out the best in him on all fronts, would be Gary Anton Russell. So what do you guys think? What do you guys make of that potential matchup between Hitchins and Gary Anton Russell? Because I think it's a brilliant fight that we gotta really go ahead and look into in boxing. What do you guys think? Shout out to my friend Hyro. He says, because PBC is big time boxing, people be talking about PBC fighters days after it happened. This is true. And a lot of that, Hyro, is because they do a great job of promoting their fighters beyond hardcore boxing. And on top of that, it's the biggest promotion in American boxing. Let's be real. Let's be real, guys. It's the only promotion in American boxing. Matchroom is a primarily, it's a British company. Golden Way Promotions is heavily focused on Mexican American fighters, so that they only promote one certain segment of the American population and of America. But like every other promotion has sold out to Saudi or isn't American. PBC is the only American-ran promotion company, and they do a good one. They don't have a lot of fight dates, so that's probably the biggest criticism I can give. But when they put on events, they're events. They're big. Hitchins is too worried about selling fights. He doesn't believe in being competitive. He won't fight Gary Anton Russell. It's too risky. I don't agree with that. And if he doesn't fight Gary Anton Russell, that's not because of Hitchins. That's because of Keith Conley. The main question is, how does Hitchins deal with Gary's inside pressure? Hitchins hates pressure. Well, I think Hitchins has shown the ability at times to punch to the body. He showed it in this fight with Kambosos. Again, the only way we find out is that they fight each other. I personally think that because Gary Anton Russell is such a volume puncher, he's gonna give Hitchins a chance to punch in between those shots. And I don't think Gary is as durable as a guy as, let's say, like Subra Matias. I think Matias could take a bunch of shots from Hitchins to keep coming forward. I don't know if that's the case with Gary. So that's why I think that fight is very interesting. I think it's a very competitive fight. I think I would favor Hitchins. I think Hitchins beats Gary Anton Russell, and you know what? That would be my pick. I would say Hitchins beats Gary Anton Russell if they fight next. Let me see. Andy Hiroko will beat Gary Anton Russell. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think he's got a great chance, but I don't know. Ohashi's not really trying to push them like they really should be, in my opinion. We just gotta see first. I just think the case between the two is unlikely, especially because Hiroka is being enforced having money behind him. Well, we'll see, man. Like, because Hiroka doesn't, like, even though he's got Ohashi and he's got money behind him, he doesn't really get the push that other Japanese fighters get. It's weird. It's the weirdest thing I've seen. That's my interpretation. I don't think Ohashi Jim pushes Andy Hiroko like they do the other fighters, but maybe it's because they're at 140, and 140 is not like 112 or 115 or a lot of weight categories. There's more of an American pull, so they gotta they don't have it's harder to control, so that's what it is. But yeah, give me just give me the damn Russell versus Hitchins fight. Next Gen Combat Sports TV says Hitchins right hand will be money all night on the Southpaw Gary Anton. Yeah, exactly. When you get a Southpaw versus Orthodox matchup, we all know that the number one punch that kills the momentum of the Southpaw fighter, which is the Southpaw killer, is the straight right hand. Think about it. When Hitchins fought Liam Paro, by the way, I thought Liam Paro was going to actually beat Hitchins. I thought Paro was going to win a close decision against Hitchins. And funny enough, on the scorecards, he lost a close decision to Hitchins. So, I wasn't too far off. But yeah, Hitchins showed in that fight, his jab did not win him that fight. When Hitchins fought a high level southpaw, what won him the fight was a straight right hand. And so I think if you were to fight Gary Anton Russell, I would figure that punch would be very, very key in him winning that fight. So I want to see it. And, I got to say this, man. Gary Anton Russell, I feel like he's going to have the toughest road of any 140-pounder as champion, because he has Andy Hiroko as his mandatory. And if he doesn't fight his mandatory, he's got all these tough champions like Puyo, who already beat him in a close fight. He's got T.O. and he's got Hitchins. So Gary, in my opinion, got an uphill battle. Yeah, man, we here. The Untouchable True School Sports Empire. Reporting to you guys live and direct from Japan. Let me get some better lighting. I'm not a fan of this lighting right here. It's all sunny and beautiful today. Let me go over here where the lighting's a little better. Let's see. But yeah, appreciate all you guys joining the chat, chiming in, giving your thoughts and comments. Let me see who else we got here. Let me see who else we got. We got my man. Do you think Russell or Hiroka is a harder? Who do you think is a harder fight for Hitchins between Russell and Andy Hiroka? That's a good question. I would definitely say Andy Hiroka because Andy Hiroka is tall. He can box very, very well from range. He punches insanely hard from the mid range, and I think he's more calculated than a guy like Russell. Russell is going to give Hitchins more opportunities to counterpunch and get into a rhythm. Because the thing with Russell too, if you watch Gary Ants Russell fight, his punches all come at the same speed. He's not really one of these guys that changes the speed of his punches. So you can it gets repetitive after a while. And I think Hitchins would have the answer for that. As for Andy Hiroka, I think there's more dimensions to work out. There's more things to work out. So, that's my take on that. PBC Barrios card is stacked, which yes it is. It's a very stacked card, and they're doing a great job promoting the fight. He also says South Florida, get ready for the parade. Back to back. Yes. Hey, shout out to the Florida Panthers. They're up 3-2 on the Edmonton Oilers. One more win, guys, and the Florida Panthers will be the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. So looking forward to Game 6. Panthers in 6. We're gonna close it out. Yes, correct. Hitchins has one of the best 1-2s in the game, by for sure. It's one of the reasons why, like, when you talk about the fundamentals of boxing, just basic boxing, like if I like when I have a son, right? One day, God willing, when I have a son, and I show him boxing, if he ever wants to box, learn how to fight. One of the fighters I'm gonna show him is Hitchins. I'm gonna show him Hitchins. I'm gonna show him Bivol. I'm gonna show him Inoue. And all these fighters that throw a good 1-2 down the middle, Angelo Leo, all these guys. Hitchins just does a great job of keeping it very simple down the middle. Like 1-2 is textbook every single time. So it's great to see. He just got a real basic style. He don't fight outside of himself, and he gets the job done. Hiroka low-key got a slick Black American style, but he got some pop. Andy Hiroka has real punching power. I mean, he's knocked out Ismael Barroso, and he's knocked out Jin Tazaki, who's fighting this week for the welterweight title. So think about that. Hiroka is a 140-pounder, and he's got 2 very high-level knockouts. He has a knockout over a guy who's fighting for a welterweight title, who is a top contender at welterweight in Jin Tazaki. So that right there will tell you the kind of fighter Andy Hiroka is. And truth be told, if you ask me who might be the most underrated fighter at the top level of Japanese boxing, that's the pick right there. That's gotta be the guy. Hyro says he would favor Gary in America, but he would favor Andy if it was in Japan. See, okay, so you're gonna go with the home field advantage. Okay, fair enough. Now, another thing I want to get to is this, because this is my next talking point. Because truth be told, this has to be said. This has to be said, because Eddie Hearn got all his feelings. He was upset that Hitchins had mentioned in the post-fight interview that this was his last fight of Matchroom Boxing. That he's a free agent now, that he can go explore other options, and that doesn't necessarily mean that he's gonna leave Matchroom. It just means he's a free agent. So Eddie Hearn wants to keep the services of Richardson Hitchins. He has to, offer something that's competitive in the market, that's going to be better than what PBC or Top Rank or the other promoters offer Hitchins, right? But he got mad about it, and I wanted to speak about that because he's talking about loyalty. And truth be told, there's no loyalty in boxing. As it says right there in the header, there's no loyalty in boxing. There's no loyalty in business. If you want loyalty, go buy a dog. That's just the truth. Like the old saying goes, money talks and bullshit walks. And if you want someone to be loyal, then you do right by them, and you do the best business for them, because at the end of the day, people are going to be loyal to, for the most part, like 9 times out of 10, not all the time, but 9 times out of 10, more oftentimes than not, people are going to be loyal to what is in their best interest, because people have families, they have wives, they have kids, they have things that they want to do in their own lives, and you can't do anything in life without money. So money is a big factor in life, you know. That being said, let's go to screen share. Okay, so where is it? Let me find it right quick. So look, Eddie Hearn said, and I quote, it's right here. It was an interview on IFL TV. Eddie Hearn stated the following, and I quote, "I did feel disrespected because it's not him, it's just the dogs around him. I've headlined him in Orlando, in Vegas, where he lost a lot of money. Richardson is a good kid. He just got some snakes around him. So there you go. Now, I understand, but honestly, I understand both sides. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't understand Eddie Hearn's point of view, because as much as fighters want to say that, you know, promoters are dirty and that they don't do good by fighters, that's not always the case, because there's many cases where the promoters do right by the fighters all the time. They get them, they lose a ton of money on them. They get them the right fights at the right time. They take the risk of investment in their career, and then when the fighter gets to a point in their career where they can finally, where the promoter can finally make a return on an investment, the fighter goes somewhere else, and the promoter never gets to see the benefits of the investment he made. Those things do happen, right? And I think Hitchins would be one of many cases for that for Eddie Hearn, you know. But at the same time, like, look, man, we've seen it many times where, look at Eddie Hearn, right? Like, I'll give you an example in this weight class. Eddie Hearn signed Subriel Matias. Matias lost to Liam Paro, and then he got rid of Subriel Matias. So for all this talk of loyalty, there's a million occasions. There's plenty of occasions where Eddie Hearn has had fighters that lost a big fight, and he got rid of them, canned them to the wayside. You know, so there's no in boxing, there's no such thing as loyalty. It's like, look, even in sports, I mean, we hear it all the time. Basketball, there's no Kevin Durant and LeBron James, they jump ship, they go to a different team. Right now, like I mentioned the Florida Panthers earlier. Guess what? The Florida Panthers, when they win the Stanley Cup, we're gonna lose 1/3 of our team, because when you win the Stanley Cup, every player's value goes up. So guess what? There's gonna be players that are gonna get offers from other teams that are gonna pay them more than the Florida Panthers. And guess what? They're well within their rights to go to that team. They're not obligated to take a discount and be loyal to the Panthers. The same way the Panthers aren't loyal to pay these players whatever that they feel they're worth it, if they feel they're not worth it. You have to have a mutual understanding, a mutual agreement, and make sure that things are mutually beneficial for both parties involved. And I think sometimes, promoters and fighters alike, they get their feelings involved. And when it comes to business, you can never get your feelings involved. You have to be you have to be ice cold. Even if you like someone, if you're doing business with friends or associates, people that you care for, you still have to have that ice cold business mentality, and that's just how it's got to be. So yeah, if you're looking for loyalty in boxing, you're not going to find it in most cases. There are rare cases where you will find loyalty, but it's very, very rare. If you want loyalty, go buy a dog, because dogs be loyal. These dogs will love you all the time. But nonetheless, that's not the only story in regards to Hitchins and his impending free agency, because it was reported by The Ring magazine that Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya, has reached out to Hitchins about working together. He wants to sign the fighter. He actually commented on Hitchins' post on Instagram, and he said, and I quote, "If you are a free agent, give me a phone call." So you got the Golden Boy himself. You got Golden Boy Promotions looking to take a look at Hitchins. They don't really have Golden Boy, let me see. Does Golden Boy even have anybody at 140? Let's see. Who does Golden Boy have at 140? Because Golden Boy doesn't presently have any champions. They don't have anybody. They got like what, Honor Barbosa. They got Jose Ramirez. They don't got nobody like that has a belt. So I don't know if that makes sense for Hitchins. And plus, you know, Golden Boy's recent track record over the years, they haven't really promoted black fighters the best over the last, you know, couple of years. It's been a solid 10 years since Golden Boy really did like a great job promoting a black fighter. That's just being the truth. So I don't know if that's gonna be enticing for Hitchins to sign there. But look, again, if Oscar makes him a crazy offer he can't refuse, then guess what? Fighters will be loyal to the business of boxing and who they feel is giving them the best compensation for their services, because fighters only have a short shelf life to make money in the sport before they retire. So they got to get what they can while they're here. So, you know, there's that as well. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think about Hitchins going to Golden Boy? Personally, I really don't think it makes any sense. I think that, you know, they should, in my opinion, I think Hitchins' best two options are PBC and Matchroom. I think, you know, PBC because of their ability to promote to the casual fans outside of boxing. And I would say Matchroom because Matchroom Boxing are the ones that dragged his career out of the mud. Because Hitchins has a very similar career path to my friend Angelo Leo. You know, Hitchins, just like Angelo Leo, was signed to Mayweather Promotions, you know, was also shelved by Mayweather Promotions and had his career stagnated by Mayweather Promotions and needed somebody else to sign him to get his career going to get him to the next level, you know, because Mayweather Promotions got to a point where they just didn't believe in him. So Matchroom for him was that guy. I feel that he at least owes Matchroom Boxing a meeting to discuss what they're going to offer him and what the plan is for him. So yeah, what do you guys think? Should Hitchins be loyal to Matchroom Boxing? What do you guys think? Now, my man right here says Golden Boy has Oscar Duarte, Kenneth Sims, and Honor Barbosa Jr. And those, and listen, those are good fights. Those are all good fights for Hitchins. But those are not like big names, and I would assume that Golden Boy is not going to pay more than PBC or even Matchroom. PBC and Matchroom are going to pay more than Golden Boy, but we'll see. We'll see what Oscar is willing to offer. You know, I just want the truth says BT. I'm looking forward to that Khalil Cole video. Well, I already made my Khalil Cole video. I made a YouTube short because, you know, with his fight, I was so late on it that I made a YouTube short. So that will be my Khalil Cole video until he signs his next fight. But, you know, shout out to Khalil Cole. He had a really good performance against Gallegos and cut him open with the jab. So, you know, it was the perfect way to avenge a loss. Lord Zed says, I know what you mean. Even the Eagles made the Super Bowl. T.O. Maldoff and wanted more money, and we lost a few guys. Yeah, I mean, it's just how it is. When you start winning, your value goes up, and that's in life, in anything, not just boxing, not just in sports, but in life. Sugar Nunez won the fight. It wasn't close. That's right. That's right. BT, what are your thoughts about the 18 by 18 foot boxing ring? For what? For who? Is it for a fight? Like a smaller ring? Is that what you're asking me? Hitchins isn't a big of enough brand to make enemies yet. Turkey is already saying he won't work with him without Eddie. Yeah, that's true. So if Hitchins wants that Saudi bag, which I'm pretty sure he's going to want that, you know, he's going to want to get paid handsomely, and Turkey will pay him handsomely. I think Matchroom and PBC. Because PBC will pay. You may not fight as often, but one thing about PBC is they're going to pay. Al Heyman and Amazon Prime, they're going to pay. So that wouldn't surprise me. All right, but guys, look, we're going to switch gears here. You know, we've gotten our Hitchins talking. So if you want to keep commenting on Hitchins, you go ahead and you comment on Hitchins. But listen, smash that like button. Your boy BT, Brendan Taylor. The untouchable True School Sports Empire. Make sure you subscribe, super chat, all that good stuff, because we're here giving you guys that world-class boxing talk live in the flesh once again from the from the luxurious True School Sports penthouse estate. So yes, we're here. But I wanted to actually switch gears a little bit. I wanted to talk about the loser of this fight. I wanted to talk about George Kambosos Jr. because I feel like, hold on, I feel like George Kambosos Jr. is getting a lot of disrespect. And truth be told, like, win, lose, or draw, George Kambosos Jr. has proven many times to be one of boxing's true warriors. Even to his own detriment, because I'll never forget. I'll never forget this, guys. When George Kambosos Jr. beat Teofimo Lopez, I was in Las Vegas the following week, and I was covering Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz. And I remember I was at the press conference for Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz, and Kambosos' star power at this point in time was at an all-time high. It was the highest it was ever going to be. And he walked into the MGM Grand, and the whole media flocked to him, and he had the whole room just was magnetic towards George Kambosos Jr. And it's crazy because I've been to a lot of big fights, so I know the feeling of seeing guys like Crawford walk into the room, Canelo, Inoue, Tank. I'm gonna tell you guys this. You guys may not believe me because it's funny to think about because of how bad Kambosos has looked since he beat Tio. But at that moment in time, when Kambosos walked into the MGM Grand and seeing how the media and people flocked to him at that time, it was almost like Tank walked into the room or Crawford or Inoue or Canelo. It was crazy. It was insane. So I say all that to say that at that moment in time, he was well within his rights after beating Teofimo Lopez to take the belts to Australia and start cherry picking the top 15, defending the belts. But he did not do that. In fact, he did the opposite of what most fighters do. He fought Devin Haney, who was a very hard guy to beat, very, good boxer, young guy in his prime, bigger. But George didn't care about his own. He wanted to really and truthfully know how good he was and test himself against the best. And he's done that so much so to the point that it's been to his own detriment, because it's been Haney twice, Lomachenko, even Maxie Hughes was a tough fight, and now Hitchins. So I respect him. And the crazy thing is, right, before he even fought Lopez, he fought Lee Selby, who was a former world champion, and he fought Mickey Bay, who was a former world champion. So you got to respect, you don't got to think he was a world-class fighter. You don't got to respect his boxing ability to the highest degree. But one thing we're not going to do is downplay what he achieved in the sport, because I think he deserves all of our respect. And the truth is, guys, is if George Kambosos Jr., if more fighters in boxing operated like George Kambosos Jr., the sport would be in a much better place, an insanely better place. So to me, even though he hasn't won a big fight in a long time, damn near half a decade now, he's still a true champion in my eyes. But speaking of George, I wanted to talk about some of the disrespect and some of the reaction he's gotten on social media. So we'll start with George himself, because George, his reaction to the fight was this right here. He stated the following, and I quote, "It's a tough game, but one game that I have always loved no matter what. I look at myself in the mirror, and I know that I always believed in myself, that I took on the absolute best and always chased greatness. A great trophy cabinet, a hell of a resume, so much love and support from the fans worldwide, and a loving family. Win, lose, or draw, I always stepped up. That's all people can ask for in a fighter. Congrats to Richardson Hitchins. It was your night. Well-deserved. Respect, and God bless your future career. Thanks to all the boxing fans for all the love and support. Just a warrior from Sydney that chased it all. God bless." And you know what? Let me say this, right? Because we got a lot of people out in the world that, forget boxing. I'm talking about people in their day-to-day lives. They don't even give the best in their own day-to-day lives. Like they don't even give the best in their 9-to-5 jobs. They don't even give the best when it comes towards their own dreams. They don't even give the best when it comes to their own health and fitness, right? So there's things that are a lot more basic and a lot more straightforward than being a world championship boxer. And people don't even give their best efforts at that. And here we have George Kambosos Jr., who's always given his best efforts. I mean, this is a guy in George Kambosos Jr., when he was a prospect, he was like what? Because I've heard him tell the story on older interviews where he was like 8-0, 9-0, just a broke fighter from Australia who didn't have a lot of money, did not have a lot of money, and the little bit of money he did have, he invested it all in coming to America to spar in the wild card boxing gyms. Which, by the way, sparring in wild card boxing gym is not easy. You know, you spar wild card boxing gym, that's really a make or break as far as building your reputation in the States. And some of the best fighters in the world are there. And guess what? He performed so well sparring at Wild Card Boxing Gym that he became Manny Pacquiao's sparring partner. So that shows you that he believed in himself when he had nothing, and that he earned his spot in boxing. And I got nothing but respect for him. True warrior, nothing but class, and he's given the boxing fans in wins and his losses many great nights. So shout out to George Kambosos Jr. Now, funny enough, when it comes to George Kambosos Jr. and when it comes to the subject of George, and before I get to Paulie Malignaggi, because Paulie Malignaggi had a lot to say about George. Here's what Richardson Hitchins had to say about George Kambosos Jr. He said the following, and I quote: "You're a warrior, and I wish you the best. I had fun promoting this event with you, champ." And fair play, fair enough. Like, Hitchins has always been known to be a shit talker, but man, George Kambosos Jr. is one of the best shit talkers in boxing, and I thought he brought out the best of Hitchins, not just in the ring, but definitely more so in the promotion of the fight. You know, because on paper, it really wasn't a good fight. Like, George hasn't done anything in years, but because of how it was promoted and because of the shit talking, you know, it made the fight more exciting to tune in for. So, you know, respect to Hitchins. But here's a Paulie Malignaggi had to say about George Kambosos Jr. So he had a tweet right here, and he was promoting one of the YouTube videos on his channel, Paulie TV. Shout out to Paulie TV. Make sure you guys go subscribe to Paulie TV. He said, "Hitchins impressed me with his performance, but I think it may be time to retire." And then he quoted his own tweet and said, "I'm not sure how this guy was ever a world champion and lasted this long." Now, before I get to George's response, because you guys know George Kambosos Jr., he may have some losses in the ring, but George Kambosos Jr., he don't got no losses outside the ring. He's probably the best shit talker in all of boxing. But before I get into what George said, Paulie Malignaggi was a guy that was also very much an overachiever, like George. He won some world titles, and he won some fights that he wasn't supposed to win. You could definitely say Paulie was a better fighter than George, had a better career, and definitely overachieved more. But he wasn't a knockout puncher at all. Like, he's probably one of the most feather-fisted champions of our era. And every time he stepped up and fought someone that was an A-level fighter, you know, in their prime, he lost. He lost to Cotto. He lost to Khan. You know, he was like the Kambosos of welterweight for a time. So, I mean, I don't know why he's doing this, but nonetheless, here's what George said. So George said, "A bit like you. The difference is I made probably 30 times more than you ever made. Grow up, mate, and stop being a disrespectful prick. Show some respect for the warriors that fight the best. You did the same, and that I respect. I don't question your 8 losses, or should I?" So there you go. George is telling you, look, like, very similar to him, stepping up, fighting the best, not always beating the best, but stepping up and fighting the best. Paulie did that. George did that. George definitely made more money than Paulie. I mean, I know Paulie made some serious money, but it's not going to be what George made. No way. There's more money in boxing now than when Paulie was fighting. So there's no way Paulie could have made more money than George off boxing. And then as far as records are concerned, Paulie has 8 losses. So George said the right thing, because it's crazy. Fighters will always get mad at the media for disrespecting and downplaying their achievements. But the craziest thing is that the fighters that are in media are some of the main ones that I see downplaying fighters' achievements. So it's just crazy how that works. But what do you guys think? Because I thought it was insane for Paulie to do that, and I like Paulie. I got all the respect in the world for Paulie. Like, but he's just he's definitely off base there. George Regis progress speak Kambosos. He's just there to be a stepping stone for Hitchins. That's why I understand Eddie's cons. No, I understand. Retire. He fought. Yeah. Personally, look. Now look. It's not for me to tell any fighter to retire. But if I had this, if I can make a choice, if I can make the choice for George, I would say probably one more fight and then retire. I mean, there's not much more to achieve. You're not gonna make more money. You're not gonna beat any of the top guys. You've had a million shots at the top guys. That's it. Turkey said he's making the ring smaller for the Shakur fight because he don't want to see a cat and mouse fight. Well, Turkey doesn't know shit about boxing, and Turkey's a disgrace to the sport. But as far as the 18 by 18 foot ring, I think it's corny. I think it's gay. If you want to be honest, if you want to be blunt, it's super gay because I understand a lot of us don't like when guys move around the ring, and sometimes there are boring fights. But you know, it's boxing. Like the ring actually is not a big place. If any of you guys have been in a boxing ring or have ever done any sparring, try sparring anybody who knows how to box even a little bit, and then try running around the ring and see how hard it is. It's hard. I've tried it. Trust me. If a fighter allows a boxer to move around the ring, then the aggressive fighter, the pressure fighter, deserves as much criticism as the guy that moves. And I don't think we should water down boxing just because Turkey wants boxing a certain way. Kambosos is the Greek Australian Paul. Yeah, you could say that. You could say that. Mal Naji was tougher. I think Mal Naji was more durable. I think he was more durable for sure. Shakur doesn't really run. He just darts back to evade. That's true. And guess what, dude? And he does that, and people have all this film out there on him doing that, and they still can't cut the ring off on him. So it just means that the guys he's fighting suck. That they're not good enough. That they're not on that level. Paulie has 36 wins, where George has 22. He should have 21, but because he lost to Maxie Hughes, that's true. No, I think Paulie is. I think Paulie had the better career. I think Paulie was the better fighter. But I'm saying they had a similar career arc, so it's just crazy to see him talking like that about George. Former boxing media guys kill me talking crazy. Like we can't pull up videos of them getting cooked. That's what I'm saying. Like these fighters, they'll get mad at me. You know, a little old true school, and they'll get mad at other media members for sometimes getting out of pocket and saying things that we see with our four eyes, and they'll say things like, "Well, you've never been in the ring, so you can't talk about boxing, you can't criticize, right?" And I understand it. Like they walked that path, they've earned the right to talk as much shit as they want because they made that lonely walk. It's a hard, tough, arduous road that I didn't make, you know, and they're braver than me to make that walk. So respect. But if they're telling me that, they should be accountable to themselves and actually practice what they preach. So yeah, you're not lying. My man David says, I just don't understand how you do all that sparring with Pacquiao and it doesn't translate like it should. Obviously, he beat Lopez, but still. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. George Kambosos Jr. to me is the biggest overachiever in modern box history. So, true. When are we getting the stream from Japan's red light district? Promotional purpose only. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I'm not doing that. You never boxed before is the gayest clapback of all time, and they know it. Yeah, because it's pretty hilarious. Because there's been fighters, which I won't name, but there's been fighters that I try telling me that whenever they don't like my opinions on boxing, and I tell them, I'm like, well, you know, do you listen to music and say that some songs suck? Like, have you ever heard a song on the radio that you think sucks? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, well, no. You can't criticize Taylor Swift, and you can't criticize 50 Cent or whoever you don't like. You can't criticize a musician because you never made an album. You never recorded a song. You know, you go to a restaurant. Most of these fighters can't even fucking cook. A lot of these guys can't even cook. But a lot of them will tell you that food sucks, that food don't taste good. But no. You can't criticize the food because you don't know how to cook. Like, think about how stupid that is. But that's my stance. Angelo Dundee didn't box. Enzo Calzaghe, Joe Calzaghe's dad, was a fucking jazz musician and trained 4 world champions. So people gotta get off the high horse sometimes. I can't wait for Shakur to expose Zepeda for these dumb box people who bring up running all the time. I'm gonna tell you guys this: if Turkey shrinks the ring to 18 by 18 feet and Shakur has to fight in the pocket, he's gonna stop Zepeda for sure. For sure. For sure. Like I'm not even worried about it. Brock Williams Zepeda is like the most overrated fighter in the lightweight division. And that's saying something because lightweight has some overrated fighters. Hurricane Hank says some of the worst takes in boxing have come from former. Yeah, for sure. That's a fact. How do you like Brian Norman Jr.'s chances, and are you impressed by him in camp? I've seen both guys in camp. I won't get too deep into like sparring or what I've seen in camp, but I'm actually impressed by both fighters. I'm impressed by Jin, what I've seen. I'm impressed by Brian Norman, what I've seen. I think they're both about as dialed in as any fighter could be for a welterweight title fight. Norman, one thing I can say about Norman that really impressed me about him, watching him up close, and I've seen this on Instagram, watching videos of him, but it's different when you see a guy box in person. One thing that really impressed me about Norman is how light he is, how light he can be on his feet. Norman actually has some very good footwork, and he's very light on his feet. So, don't be, wouldn't shock me if we see him dig deeper into his toolbox. But I'm gonna have an official breakdown and prediction video on this coming out in the next 2 days. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that when it does come out. There's no way Shakur stops Zepeda. His power is not. It's just okay. Just when it happens, remember I told you. That's what I won't tell you guys my prediction for Jin versus Norman, but I'll tell you guys my prediction for Shakur versus Zepeda. My prediction for Shakur versus Zepeda is a stoppage. I'm picking Shakur Stevenson by stoppage. Williams Zepeda is not that good. Yeah, no, it's gonna be like I don't know if it'll be like that. I don't know if it'll be like Gotti, but he's gonna beat him pretty clearly. It's not gonna be a close fight. Norman should win. I bet my house on him. Oh, okay. Yeah. We'll see. Don't sleep on Jin. Jin really is punching like that. So, and he's pretty fast. Got pretty fast hand speed. So, we'll see. Shakur is gonna give him that belt. By body. Yeah. People forget that Shakur Stevenson fights very, very well in the pocket and, gets the job done in there when he has to. Andre says, great interview with Norman BT. Thank you, man. I honestly, and if you guys haven't checked it out yet, I would highly advise you and implore you to go check out my recent interview with Brian Norman Jr. and his dad. I think it might be the best interview that I've done. Yeah, it's one of the best interviews I've done over the last couple of years, and it's probably the best interview they've ever done. Honestly, just being honest, it was that good. Let me see. What did I miss? Norman becomes the king of 147 and he beats Sasaki now that Boots is moving to 154. I would agree with that because this would be the second defense of his title. Jin is one of the top contenders of the division. And it's probably the best fight you can make in the division now that Boots has moved up, which, I'm not really a fan of that move. Like, Boots did all the, I don't want to get into it right now because I want to finish. I got one more talking point about George, and then we'll shift into just talking about other things in the live. But like Boots did all this talking about how he wanted to go undisputed at 147 and all this stuff, and he literally waits to fight week of Norman versus Aki to announce that he's going to 147 or 154. I don't like it because really and truthfully, I don't think he's going to fight anybody good at 154 right away. Like, I don't think he's going to fight Bakram. I don't think he's going to fight Virgil. I don't think he's going to fight Madrimov. I think Boots is going to fight a straight can at 154, and people are going to give him a pass. And honestly, I personally, this is just me, I would have liked to have seen, if Norman gets through the Sasaki fight, or even look, if Sasaki upsets Norman, at least let the fight play out and negotiate with the winner, and then if the winner don't fight you, then go to 54. But he didn't even do that. So he has, like, we've only heard it from we've only heard it from Eddie Hearn. We haven't gotten the full confirmation from Boots yet. So let's wait and see. It could just be him bluffing. That's what I'm saying. Like he gave Stanionis a big payday, which I feel like, you know, I don't think the Norman fight was hard to make. I think they can make the fight, you know, and I'm hoping that they still do fight each other if Norman beats Sasaki, because I think it's a great fight. But to me, I'm not mad about Boots moving to 154. I'm actually okay with that. What I'm more upset about is just the timing of it. Like, you waited till the week of the Brian Norman fight to announce, or not you, because he hasn't announced anything. But it's mainly Eddie Hearn. So I won't get mad at Boots. I'll direct it to Eddie Hearn, because right now Boots hasn't really said much. Eddie Hearn is trying to get Norman out of 154, out of 147 to 154, and I don't like that. I don't like the timing of it. I hope Boots and Norman can negotiate, because I know for a fact that they weren't that far off from getting that fight done. He said, "Be careful with my words." What? Why? Why do I have to be careful? I didn't say anything out of pocket. Watch what I say. I didn't say anything out of pocket. All I said was I want to see Brian fight. I want to see Boots fight Norman if Brian Norman beats Jin. And I don't like the fact that Eddie Hearn is trying to get Boots to go to 154 during the week of Norman Sasaki. I feel like, look, okay, we know Norman turned down the fight the first time. If you want to say he ducked, whatever. But what I can say is try one more time, because all we heard from Boots, because I've sat here for over a year and a half, and all I've heard from Boots fans and Jaron Ennis is that he can't go to 54. He didn't take the Virgil fight in December because he wants to go undisputed at 147. So if you want to go undisputed at 147, then do what it takes to become undisputed at 147. Don't go and leave the division just because of one failed negotiation. Okay, wait for this fight to play out. If Norman turns down the fight again, which I don't think he will, but if he beats Jin and he turns down again, then at that point you can wipe your hands clean and say, you know what, fuck all this, I'm going to 54. But, you know, I've been told for over a year that Boots is still on 147 because he wants to go undisputed. So to me, if you leave the division now, then it shows me that you wasted a whole year. You wasted a whole year to fight Stanionis. And Stanionis, you know, that wasn't a fight that I really cared about. It was cool. He was one of the best in the division, but, like, you know, I would have rather have seen him moved up in advance and fight Virgil, fight Bakram, fight Fundura, fight Boachuk, fight like any of those guys. Boots is too big for 147. He's huge. He's huge. But he's the one who said he wanted to go undisputed there. So shit, go undisputed there. Try. If he can't physically make the weight healthily, then okay, then you got to move up. But you know, I want to see if Norman gets past this fight, I would like to see them try to revisit that fight. You know, they definitely might be trying to make it seem like they're leaving, so Norman will jump on the opportunity. That's what I think. It could be that, because Boots hasn't said. I mean, he put out like this one cryptic story. But it wasn't like anything direct. So we'll see what happens. I want to see. That's a fight that American boxing needs. Those are two of the best fighters from the USA at this moment in time, and I think they're both awesome. Boots is an amazing talent. We all know that. It doesn't even got to be discussed how amazing of a talent Boots is. Very dynamic, switch hits, athletic, very, very dynamic. One of the most dynamic fighters in boxing today. Brian Norman in his own right, one of the hardest hitting fighters, pound for pound in boxing today. Very athletic in his own right. I mean, it's a dynamite matchup. Ooh, Norman versus Ecal Esserman in Atlanta. That'd be cool. I would like to see, you know, Brian Norman get a fight in Atlanta, but not more than Brian Norman versus Boots. You know, you're cleaning yourself up, True. I don't know what you mean by that, but okay. I don't know what I said that was out of pocket. Like, all I'm saying is, look, for over a year, I've probably bitched and moaned about Boots being at 147 because 147 is not a great weight class right now. I've been begging him to go to 154 for the longest time now. Go to 154. Go fight Virgil. Go fight Madrimov. Go fight Bakram. Go fight Boachuk. Go fight any of them killers at 54. It's a better weight class with bigger fights. All I kept hearing is Boots wants to go undisputed at 47. So if Boots keeps saying he wants to go undisputed at 47, then stand on it. Do what you got to do to go undisputed. That's it. All right, last thing about Kambosos and him and then we'll freestyle the rest of the live. So the last thing I want to say about Kambosos is this. A lot of people are saying that George should retire from boxing, and if he does retire from boxing, then fine. But to me, the way I see it, there's one last fight he's got to do if he wants to keep boxing. And that fight is a rivalry fight, a fellow fight with his fellow Aussie, Liam Parle, because both these guys have a common opponent with each other, and that guy is Richardson Hitchins. Hitchins beat both these guys. Now, we'll go to screen share. George got very upset recently because Liam Parle was asked about, what he thought would happen between George and Hitchins. And Liam pretty much said, look, Liam said Parle said in the build-up to the Hitchins fight that he thought that George Kambosos was going to get stopped. Here's what he said, word for word, verbatim. He stated the following, and I quote, "I don't think George has the power to hurt him. And we've seen with Hitchins, he's very aggressive after discovering that you aren't a threat for him. George Kambosos is not a big bloke, but Hitchins is huge for that division. And I personally think Hitchins isn't known to be a big puncher, but he might just get the job done within the distance." And guess what? Liam Parle, in his prediction, was very true. So Liam Parle knows boxing. That's why Liam Parle was a world champion. Now, that being said, George got very angry about this. He got very angry, offended, and pissy about it because he said, because Liam also said that he was putting money for George to get stopped. So George took exception to that, and George said the following, and I quote, "How un-Australian. It's good to see your real colors, mate. I backed you like I back every Aussie. I guess you got jealous and you signed with a bunch of cowboys, and the real hate comes out. No wonder you unfollow me. Good for you guys. God bless." So there you go. So for me, for my money, they're both at 140. They're both Aussie. They both lost Richardson Hitchins. I think if there was ever a fight that Hitchins or that George Kambosos should do before it ends his career, I think it's this one. And it's interesting because when you talk about Lomachenko, when you talk about T.O., when you talk about all these guys, they're all that he's lost to, that George has lost to, these are all significantly better fighters than Hitchins, or than Parle. Parle's a good fighter. Parle has a good boxing IQ. Parle has sneaky power, as he's shown at a couple points in his career, but Parle is not on those guys' level, right? So it's actually probably the most winnable, notable fight Kambosos has had, apart from Maxie Hughes, which I thought he also lost. Apart from Maxie Hughes, I think it would be the most notable fight he's had in a long, long time. So I like this fight a lot for Kambosos. I think it's a fight that should happen. I think it's a fight that I think it's a fight that should happen. Why not? What do you guys think? You better watch out, BT. Boots fans are gonna get you. I don't care, man. Boots. Listen, a lot of the Boots fans, not fans, but the fanboys. A lot of the Boots fanboys, I don't even be saying crazy things about Boots, and they get mad. So who gives a damn? Like that's just how it is. Like I keep it real about everybody in boxing. So one day it's the Boots fans, the next day it's NOA fans, the next day it's Espinoza fans. I've gotten hatred from every fan base damn near in boxing, so it ain't shit to me. Not to beat a dead horse since I'm late, but that Ohio situation, did a friend tell you they had an issue after the media, or I feel like they have a bad impression because of the time you showed up randomly? No, I got a message from a guy that I know that works at the Ohashi gym, and he sent me this long message, and he pretty much said, to summarize what he said that if I show up to any Sasaki Norman media workouts, that they're gonna call the police on me for trespassing, and that they're also gonna surveillance me when I go to the fight. That's what I was told. Um, And the crazy thing about it is the only reason that I was even allowed to stay inside the media workout is because the translator, the translator for Ohashi Gym and Tekken Promotions came up to me, and she asked me why I was there, and I told her that Team Norman invited me to come, and that I was with them, and they said, and then she went and she asked Team Norman, and they confirmed that I was telling the truth, which is why I was able to stay. So that's why I was there. If I was, but I told the lady too. I told her, I said, if it's an issue at all, I will leave. I wasn't arguing. I wasn't being a nuisance. I said, look, if it's an issue, I'll leave. It's no big deal. It's not a big deal to me. I already had Brian Norman content, but they let me stay. I was honest with them. They confirmed that I was being honest with them, and that's why I was there. But I just think I don't know, man. I had an incident with Tekken Promotions last time I was here, and this one guy that works with Tekken Promotions hates me, so I think he just dragged my name through the mud. Salute to Black Ray Donovan. Good to see you, champ. Who are my top 5 147 pounders right now? Okay, so we'll just assume that George Ennis is still in the division, all right? Because he has himself made the move out of the division. I'll say Geron Ennis number 1 because he is the Ring Magazine champion, and he does have right now a deeper resume. So we'll say Boots number 1 for now. Number 2 would be Brian Norman Jr. 3 would actually be three would be Barrios because he does have a belt. 3 is Barrios. 4 would for me is Jin Sasaki, and 5 is Stanionis. I actually got Jin over Stanionis. I think Jin is better welterweight than Stanionis because Stanionis got beat up and things didn't go his way, and he got pulled out of the fight and looked for a way. I don't think he quit, but I just don't think he's as durable as Jin. I'm telling y'all right now, Jin, Brian Norman is gonna have to beat him to death, and I literally mean death, because that's just how Japanese fighters are. So yeah, that's my top 5: Boots, Norman, Barrios, Sasaki, and then Stanionis. Oh, you know what? Let me retract that. No, Karen, no, I'm sorry. No, people want to talk that Karen stuff. Nah, man. Karen lost. As much as good as he looked against Boots, he lost. You can't. He lost twice, and he lost what? Let me see. I thought he won like what? He probably won a combined maybe 5 or 6 rounds throughout the course of 2 fights. So he probably lost 17 to 18 rounds. I can't put a guy at number 3 because he lost 17 to 18 rounds. I'm sorry. You lost 17 to 18 rounds. It's unfortunate. It's probably hard to make it known you're not a bad guy, the language barrier and whatnot. If you don't mind me asking, what was the issue with Tekken? Sorry, I'm not talking about it. I'm not talking about it. Because if I start talking about it, I'm gonna get mad and I'm gonna start saying really disrespectful things. So let me not talk about it, and let me not be disrespectful, and let me be mature and not talk about it. Just know there's an issue, and this guy, this one guy who's like Mr. Honda's right hand man, he just decided that he's gonna hate my guts. I tried talking to him man to man 4 or 5 times, and he's acting like a straight coward on 4 or 5 occasions and doesn't want to talk to me. And then tries to act all big and bad and give me these like eyes like he's gonna do something, and he don't do shit. So I don't want to talk about it because it's gonna get me really out of character. You are biased towards Japanese fighters. I'm not biased towards Japanese fighters. I'm biased towards fighters who get shit done in the boxing ring. And the reality is right now at this moment in time, Japanese fighters are getting shit done in the boxing ring across all weight classes. So that's why it seems like that. It's not my fault all these other guys ain't doing nothing across all these weight classes. Karen would school Mario Barrios for sure. Well, a lot of people thought Ugas would school Mario Barrios, and that didn't happen. So they got to fight the fights. I would love to see Karen. You know, give me Karen. Karen does deserve big fights. I think Karen has earned the right to be in a big fight. You know, because he showed that he's on a top level. You know, Boots is regarded by the majority of people as the #1 welterweight. So Jin hasn't fought anyone BT before Norman. He's Japanese. He fought Keito Obara, who if I'm not mistaken, Keito Obara challenged for the world title. Yeah, his resume is soft. It's not a great resume. I'm not gonna say it act like it's a great resume, but you know, amongst the welterweights, he's definitely one of the best. It's not that's not even debatable. He has one of the highest knockout ratios in the division. He's won all the regional titles there is to win in Asia, and that's why he is where he's at. I wouldn't mind seeing Jin fight Karen. That'd be a good fight. That's one that Jin could lose. I used to think that Karen was a bum, and I was wrong. Now Karen is very, very good. You can't compare cooked ass Ugas to prime Karen. I'm not comparing I'm comparing like their styles. I mean, Karen moves a lot more than everyone, but I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna romanticize Karen because Karen lost as good as he fought against Boots. He probably won at the most out of a possible 24 rounds against Boots. He won at maximum 7 combined rounds over the course of 2 fights. So you're telling me he won 1/3 of the rounds, and you wanna give him top 3 treatment in the division? Nah, man. Let me see him in there against somebody else, and I think that will be a more accurate determining factor of where Karen is at welterweight. He's a hard guy to really quantify at the moment. I'm not shaming him for losing against Boots. It's not shaming him. He performed well. I think he's definitely worthy of top 5 status. But bro, it doesn't matter. You still lost 17 rounds. You lost 7. You fought the same guy twice. You lost anywhere from 17 to 18 rounds. So no matter how well he performed, no matter where he was at, in the pocket fighting well, he lost a shit ton of rounds. Nah, that second fight, if Boots don't get the knockdown, that fight might go to a split decision. Maybe, but okay. So you're saying what he won? You thought he won 5 to 7 rounds? Let's just say we give Karen 6 rounds, right? Let's say we give Karen 6 rounds. I think the first fight I gave Karen like 3 or 4 rounds. So what? That'd be what, 9 or 10 rounds in 24. I that's respectable. I mean, I guess if you want to give him 5-6 rounds. I thought both fights combined, he won probably combined 7 to 8 rounds, but no more than that. I think giving him 9 or 10 rounds is generous over the course of 2 fights. Keita Obara is not better than Butia. BT, listen, I'll tell you like this: if Jin Sasaki fought Stanionis would get fucking flatlined. I have zero doubt about it. Stanionis would get worked by Jin Sasaki if they fought. Like bad. Like it's actually probably it would be in Boots. And I know Boots is not gonna be at welterweight supposedly, but if Stanionis fights Jin is gonna make Boots' win look very bad. Very bad. Stanionis should never fight Jin Sasaki. Because if your trainer's gonna pull you out because Boots was styling on you for 6 rounds, Jin has more one-punch power than Boots. Yeah, his defense is bad. I'm sure Stanionis would land some big shots. Stanionis is probably a little bit physically stronger, but if they ever fought, I would bet money. I would bet real money that Jin would beat Stanionis. And I don't even bet on boxing, but that's how sure I am. Harold says, you were wrong about Nochinga. You've been so sure before, but come short. Not for fights that I actually care about. Not for fights where I'm disinvested. Nah. You want to know Harold? You want to know one guy who I wasn't wrong about, who you wouldn't shut the fuck up about for a whole year? I wasn't mad about Jaime Munguia. You went on and on and on about Jaime Munguia. Jaime Munguia's in his real weight class. Jaime Munguia this, Jaime Munguia that. I told you for years that Jaime Munguia was trash and was a hype job, and I don't even like talking like that. Like, I don't even want to call guys trash and a hype job, but he's the most manufactured fighter in boxing, and you refuse to see it. And he had to cheat. He had to cheat and take steroids to beat Bruno Saras, a feather-fisted Frenchman who he tried to cherry pick. We don't want to hear nothing from you, Jairo, about when I was wrong. You was gassing up Jaime Munguia, and Ray Charles could have seen Jaime Munguia wasn't like that. Jin Sasaki started boxing late. Is that true? Yes, Jin Sasaki did start boxing late. He had like less. Jin had like less than 10 amateur fights. He didn't have no amateur career to speak of. So he did a lot of learning on the job and things like that. Nah, man, Jin has got to this level off of power and athleticism, like just pure power, athleticism, and balls. Something a lot of your guys' favorite fighters lack is balls. And look, Brian Norman might beat Jin Sasaki to a bloody pulp. We'll see how it goes. Like, anything can happen in that fight. But I'm gonna tell you this: he ain't gonna quit like a lot of your favorite fighters. If Johnny Beck would have fought Munguia, he would have got starched. If him and Johnny Beck would have fought, Munguia would have got starched by Johnny Beck. All them dudes, Munguia was ducking Jairo like Andrade, Johnny Beck. He would have got folded by all of them. All of them. That's why they didn't want to fight. Jin definitely, Jin might get done up bad. It might be bad, like, because Norman is really punching. I'm telling you that. Like, I mean, anybody with two functioning eyes can see that, or even one functioning eye can see that Brian Norman is punching like that. He's one of the hardest punchers in boxing, pound for pound today. But Jin is, I think Jin is one of the hardest punchers in boxing as well. I think it's two of the hardest punchers in boxing. But like, Jin is not going to quit at all. No way. You were wrong about Andrade's entire career. When he finally fought a world champion, he lost and he quit. He was a 2-division champion, amateur world champion. He was better than Munguia. Munguia was too pussy to fight him. So, I mean, you're saying that he never fought a world champion and lost and quit. Your guy who you were dick riding was saying that was all this stuff at 168, could have fought him. Munguia was his #1 contender for years and couldn't find the balls to fight him. Harold, I'm about to block you, bro. You pissing me off. I'm a little hungry right now, and I'm about to block you. You pissed me off right now. Your boy Ergashev is fighting in the IBA. Yeah. Shout out to Ergashev. I don't know what's gonna be of his career. Shout out to him. I see Norman spar a light heavyweight and give him crazy work. He definitely I'm telling you guys, I've been around a lot of fighters. Top fighters in the world, all weight classes. Like, they're both. Brian is punching like that. I'm telling you guys this too. Jin is punching like that too. It's a different type of power though. Like, Brian's power is more like heavy-handed power. He's got speed, but it's more like heavy-handed power. Jin, I think, is, he's got his speed is more of his power. Like, if that makes speed is power in boxing, but I think Jin's best attribute is his speed and his timing. From what I've seen in his fights, watching him train, watching him spar, all that stuff. I'm gonna save all that for my prediction video. There's a lot to unpack. Ergashev was low key like the southpaw straight left Ryan Garcia. Straight left, yeah. He's probably one of the biggest disappointments in the history of this channel. I thought he was gonna be more than he's been, but I guess he got stabbed in the leg and whatnot, and I thought he would at least win a world title. That was a guy that I thought would win a world title. Come on, man, don't do me like that. It's too early in Japan for this. No, I got you, but you talking crazy. You talking out the side of your mouth like you didn't dick ride Earl Spence for 5 years, and when I told you Terrence Crawford was going to beat the dog shit out of him. I told you for years Terrence Crawford was going to beat the dog shit out of Earl. I even told you the round it was going to end. And, just saying, man, remember, I could point some bad things out for you too. Is it true that Jin is fighting for the first time in his career with 8-ounce gloves? That one I'm not sure about, but if that's the case, then damn. If it really is, the case, then he's gonna really be punching like that, because Jin can punch, man. I know people in the States think that I'm just being biased and I'm just like biased for Japanese fighters. Nah, man, I'm telling you, he can really punch. He's someone that, Norman is gonna have to be defensively sound with, the same way Jin is gonna have to be defensively sound with Norman. He's got one. I mean, what Jin has a damn near 89% knockout ratio. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do in 21 fights. I want to say more like Ergashev, but I don't want to get. Yeah, Harold, please. I'm hungry right now. I want to go eat soon. Shit, I might go take a walk and get some food. But yeah, Harold, like you and hot water, champ, talking that nonsense. BT is funny, so yeah, man. I'm having fun. I'm having fun. Harold's my guy. I love Harold. I can talk crazy to Harold because me and him are great friends. Jin will definitely stun your shit and follow. That's what I'm saying. Like you have to be defensively tight with him, because if not, he'll throw shit from like way out here, and it's crazy. Like he's got deceptively good timing. So, if Norman does get hurt or stunned, he's not going to be gun shy. He will go for it. He will 1000% go for it. Go for the gusto and try to get him out of that. That's why I'm so excited about the fight. Like, I don't care that Norman. I think Norman. I don't know what the odds are. What the odds are pretty. I know Norman is the favorite by a good margin, but I don't give a damn. Like, I know it's gonna be a good fight. I know it's gonna deliver, and that's why I'm still in Japan, because truthfully, I was supposed to be in America like 3 weeks ago. I stayed in Japan just for this fight because that's how excited I am. And on top of that, it's actually a pretty good card. You got Christian Arnetta on the undercard. You got Rhea Abbey in a very tough fight against this guy named Yuya. I think the guy's name is Yuya from Kaneko Boxing Gym. That's gonna be a tough fight for Abby. Abby might lose that fight, So the card's actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty good card, even if the names there aren't big. There's rumors of Adam Azim versus Arnold Barboza. Do you think it's too soon for Adam, and who do you see winning? No, I don't, because Arnold is not a big puncher. He's not a big puncher, and he's a good boxer. He's a well-rounded fighter, but he's not well-rounded to the point where I think Adam Azim can outbox him. So I think it's actually a really good fight for Adam Azim. I think he'll win. Am I staying for the Kenshiro fight? Unfortunately, no, I can't. I have to go back to the States. I'm probably going to be heading back to the States because everybody keeps asking me this question. When I come to Japan, everybody that I know, from friends to associates to colleagues to people, everybody turns into the feds and they start asking me, BT, when are you coming back to America? When are you coming back to America? And I oftentimes don't have an answer, but now I have an answer. I'll probably be leaving Japan within a week of the Jin Sasaki fight. So sometime between the 19th and the 25th or 6th, I'll be back in America. Bro, they got Pitbull Cruz as a 9-1 favorite over Angel Fierro. Fierro almost won that fight. He did. A lot of people thought that's crazy. 9-1 is crazy work. But I'm sure people that watch that first fight, they're gonna look at how that first fight went. A lot of money's gonna come in on Fierro, and the odds will tighten up. I bet you those odds will close at 5-1. BT, you should go live for a Japanese boxing fight so we can all watch it together. Like at the fights. But shout out to everybody here. It's your boy BT, the Untouchable True School Sports Empire. We're live. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you guys run it all the way up. Definitely super chat. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let me know. Like, I want to know where is everybody watching me from today? What city, what state, what continent? Where are you guys watching from today? I want to know how international we are on the broadcast. So go ahead and definitely let me know where you're at. You know, I'm in Yokohama, Kanagawa, Japan. No, like watching the fight, how you did with the Boots fight. I mean, I've gone live for Japanese fights before. I've gone live for like mainly the Inoue fights, but yeah, maybe the next one will be Kenshiro versus Ricardo Sandoval. So that'll be the next one probably. If I go live for a fight, that'll be the one. We got Minnesota in the building. Shout out to Minnesota. Indianapolis, go Pacers. Yes, I'm actually going for the Pacers too because I've always had a soft spot for the Pacers and I want to see them get this ring for Reggie Miller, you know. But yeah, shout out to you, David. I'm in Indy. His explosiveness might be the most explosive behind Inoue from Japan. I actually think that the most explosive puncher from Japan isn't. It's not Jin or Inoue. The most explosive puncher from Japan is Masamichi Ibuki. That's the biggest puncher in Japan. But yeah, Jin is up there. Inoue is up there. But for my money, Ibuki is the guy that's punching like that more than anybody. Connecticut in the building. Yes, Connecticut, the home of the real Magic Man, Marlon Starler. Yes, shout out to Connecticut. But yeah, guys, get your questions in. I'm going to go for 20 more minutes. So 20 more minutes. We'll go 20 more minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and get up on out of here because I got some things I want to go do today. I'm going to go to the park. I'm going to go to this one park today that I always go to. And then I'm going to get me some food and probably, see what some of my friends here in Japan are doing and go hang out with them. But yeah, these next 20 minutes, you guys get your questions in, get your thoughts, your questions, anything in, boxing, non-boxing related, anything. Have I watched Donaire or Estrada fight? No, I haven't. I'm going to watch it probably tonight when I have some time. I heard about it. I know Estrada got a couple knockdowns and he won his fight. And then I know that Donaire won on a technical decision. So, I guess that makes him the interim champion. So now Donaire can go ahead and fight Seiya Tsutsumi when he comes back. So I guess. I just got back. Okay, shout out to you, Laura Zed. Zaquin Moses has looked pretty good based on what we've seen so far. Yeah, Zaquin Moses is still in a prospect building stage, but yeah, he's so far, he's passing all the proper tests. BT, will you be applying for the Mario Barrios fight? Yes, I will. I will apply for it. Am I familiar with the Mexican welterweight El Magic Salas? You're talking about Ricardo Salas? Yeah, I know Ricardo Salas. Very, 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 very strong welterweight. I think Ricardo Salas versus Brian Norman or Jim would also be a crazy fight. Even though he's not like a big name, but he can really punch. Georgia, the home of Brian Norman Jr. Yeah, shout out to Georgia. BT Norman's dad said they would fight Hiroka if he moved up. Who do you got in that fight if it ever happened? Ooh, see, to me, that's a harder fight than even Jin. I think. I talked to Norman's dad about it. I think it's a pick'em. I might. Ooh, that one's tough. I might slightly lean towards Hiroka only because I think he would keep Brian Norman on the outside, but that one's tough. Brian Norman can end that. He could get on the inside and land one of them big old uppercuts and cut all that shit out real quick. So that's another potential great fight. I know they want to come here back for the future. So yeah, I'll lean slightly towards Hiroka, but Brian Norman is really punching like that, guys. You can't write him off in no fights. Schofield versus Farmer. Good fight. I think that's tough. Because Floyd's a front runner. Floyd Schofield is a front runner. Earlier I said that Gary Anton Russell. I almost used that word. He's not, but Floyd Schofield definitely is. I think Tevin Farmer is very crafty. If Tevin Farmer is motivated and up for it, he could beat him, but they won't give it to him. So I'll say Floyd. Have I paid any attention to the Japan rookie tournaments? I won't say that I have. I know that yesterday there was fights in Osaka. I know Kazuki Nakajima fought yesterday in Osaka, and there might have been. I think there was a guy, because I remember I saw it on Twitter. There was a dude who won yesterday, but I can't say that I have been paying like extreme attention to it, but I know what's going on. How do I think Jin would do against James Figueroa? Ooh, that's a good fight. That'd be a hard one to work out because Figueroa's crafty. But see, the thing is, Figueroa, you can't Boca Chica, you can't be leaky and you can't struggle against volume. Jin has no problem throwing with volume, if you allow him to. I think Boca Chica would bank like at least like the early rounds, first couple rounds, but I think at some point Jin would just catch him with that left hook and then stun him and then stop him. You know, Jin is listen, guys. I know his resume ain't the greatest. It's not a very good resume for a guy fighting for a world title fight, but you know, sometimes you don't need to see a fighter have a good resume to know that he's a top fighter. And he is. Jin is one of the top contenders for sure. Boots versus Brian Mendoza or Jesus Ramos to get good fights. Look, if Boots does go to 54, and it is true, I'm okay with either one of those fights. Those are good fights. Those are guys that, you know, if he's not careful, could beat him. But obviously, fights that he'd be the favorite in. You know, so but I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't even think he's gonna take one of those kind of fights. I think if he goes 54, it's gonna be even softer. It's gonna be lower level than that. Rikito Dabata, 17-year-old in the lightweight division in the East Japan tournament. 3-0, 3-0. Okay. Okay. Rikataro Dabata. Okay. I'll check him out. Thank you. Has Matchroom given up on Mark Castro? No, they haven't. He's actually fighting because I saw Mark Castro when I was covering Inoue Cardenas, and I talked to him for like 30 seconds before I went into the arena. And he told me that he'll be fighting on the Bam Rodriguez Kafu card in July. So definitely a fight, worth keeping an eye out for, because, you know, Castro still is a good prospect, even though he lost. Ooh, Tiger Johnson versus Jin. That's a good fight. Tiger has a lot of speed, good footwork, counter puncher. That fight could actually be Tiger Johnson's breakout performance, because Jin is gonna have the style that's gonna allow him to shine. But I don't know, man. Tiger, I don't know how that chin will hold up. Like, when you fight these guys like Norman and Jin, you can't have no durability problems. If you got durability or defensive problems, these guys are gonna thump you right out of there. So I think Tiger can win. I would put Jin on a high upset alert for that fight, but I would say I would still lean towards Jin. You never talk about Fredris Rojas. Yeah, because Freddie Rojas, and he's a good fighter, nice guy. He's just one of those guys that doesn't do a lot of talking, and he's one of those guys that, like, there's many fighters in boxing that I don't think about unless they're fighting, and he's one of them. But he's a good fighter. Let me see, Freddie Rojas. He's 15-0. He hasn't fought. He fought Maurice Lee back in March, got a win. He's had a couple wins since his very lackluster performance against Christian Baez last January. Definitely a guy that he's probably like two or three wins away from being a top 15 contender. So he still has work to do, but we'll see how long he can make welterweight. I'm not high on Freddie Rojas. Good, nice person, nice kid. I don't think he's going to be threatening for the world title. That dude sucks. Oh, see, David, that's just pulling no punches. I didn't say that. David said that. Any predictions versus Christian Arnetta versus Simsiri? Really explosive fight. I'll go with Arnetta. I think they're both really like aggressive fighters. But from the little bit I've seen on tape, I like what I've seen from Arnetta more. So I'll go with him, Arnetta. Why are they moving Hayato Sutsumi so slow? Now, this fight on the trade card is a waste of time. I think he's ready for the top contenders. Listen, I think Hayato Sutsumi is ready for the top contenders, but what I've learned throughout my time, not just being a boxing fan, but also covering boxing and now being around boxing to the point where like I'm around a lot of matchmakers, I'm around a lot of managers. I kind of understand that side of it more. Sometimes we the boxing fans could think a fighter's ready for the world title level, but sometimes these matchmakers, many times these matchmakers, they know things that we don't know about these guys. So maybe, quite possibly, there could be something that that they know about Hayato Sutsumi that we don't know. But I believe he's ready for the top guys. I believe he's ready for all the top guys at 130. He's a beast. Do I have any knowledge on the guy Brandon Lee is fighting? Let me see. Who the hell is Brandon Lee fighting? Because I feel like his whole career, we've been asking that question. Who the hell is Brandon Lee fighting for about 30 gajillion fights now? So Brandon Lee, shout out to him. He's having his 30th pro fight coming up in 5 days. Oh shit, in 5 days. He'll be fighting on the undercard of who is he on the undercard of Jahai Tucker and oh my god, I forgot about this fight. I haven't even done a video about this fight. So Jahai Tucker and Lorenzo Truck Simpson are fighting in 5 days. There's been no promotion for the fight because I forgot about it. But he's fighting a guy by the name of Elias Damian Arujo. So maybe that's Elias Espada? That's not Elias Espada, is it? Can't be. No, because Elias Espada is a 54-pounder. I don't know who this guy is, but he's fought Omar Juarez, took him the distance, took Giovanni Cabrera the distance, took Randy Murataya 5 rounds before he got stopped. Yeah, this is a guy that on paper Brandon Lee should beat, and probably knock out if he's truly on that next level. Am I going to the Brian Norman Jr. fight? Yes, I will be there in Tokyo at the Ota City General Gymnasium with one of my Japanese friends under the surveillance. Oh my god, it's gonna be crazy. Under the surveillance of Ohashi Gym and Tekken Promotions because they're scared of what I might do when I go there recording the fight or something like that. So yeah, crazy stuff. Will Norman and Tazaki go the distance? No, absolutely not. It wouldn't shock me, but I wouldn't bet on it. Both guys are too vulnerable defensively, and both guys are too explosive. I can't see it, but you never know. Crazier things have happened in boxing, but in fact, I don't think it's going past the 7th round. No matter who wins the fight, I don't think it's going past the 7th round. BT Rojas is going to be a world champion. You never thought Rolly would be a world champion at 147. You're right. I didn't, and here he is, the world champion. So you know he's going to be the world. He's going to be the world champion if Boots vacates. When is Angelo going to fight a 122-pounder like Nick Ball? Maybe his next fight. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds? If both Jin and Norman fall, who would you bet that they won't get up? Who would I bet that wouldn't get up? Well, we've seen Norman drop, but I don't think I've ever seen Norman like actually hurt in a fight. Like he got dropped against Boca Chica, but he got up. Oh, man, that's a good question. That's a hell of a question. You put me on the spot, champ. Because I feel like I actually feel like Brian Norman is gonna have to murder Jin Sasaki. I'm serious, because that's how these Japanese guys are. That's how they are in the ring. And Jin is crazy. He doesn't care. I'll tell you this: if we're talking durability, even though it's crazy because Jin has been stopped, so conventional wisdom says that if Brian Norman knocks down Jin, Jin will not get up. But that was at 140, and Jin was weight drained going into that fight. That much I do know. That ain't the case now. So I think now I would actually bet on Jin getting up before Norman, honestly. Only because I actually think Jin will have to get murdered in the ring to get put out of there. But honestly, look, I think it's a good possibility both guys get dropped in the fight. That's one thing I think is a big possibility. But we'll see. Jael Patai is getting overrated. Ever since he signed with her and he's become overrated with opponents, he vacated title because he fought below the British level. Yeah, Opatai, I like him, but he's been. I know it's been hard to get guys in the ring with him, and there is that factor involved as well. But he's been cherry picking like crazy since he's been with Eddie Hearn. You're not lying, Harold. You're telling the truth. I don't know, man. But going back to that Jin Norman question, I don't want to hold Hiroka against Jin because he was weight draining going into that fight, and that was years ago. He's been dropped. If you go watch Jin's fight against the guy named Yuba, he got dropped twice. Got up both times and stopped him. He got dropped against Keito Ibarra, got up and stopped him. And both those fights were at 147, if I'm not mistaken. So he's durable. He is definitely durable. Norman's been dropped, but he's never been like actually really like hurt. Like he was dropped against Boca Chica, but he handled it pretty well. So I think they're actually both pretty durable. Like I'm not trying to be PC and give you guys like a bullshit answer, but like they're both pretty durable. That like there's a reason why I'm excited about this fight because I've broken it down on such a deep level already in my head. Like they're both above average fighters from an athletic standpoint. They're both two of the hardest punching fighters pound for pound in boxing. They're both very durable, and they're both at a stage of their career where they're extremely hungry. So there's a reason why I'm still here in Japan because it's a great fight. The early rounds will be the key. Jin's all gas and no breaks IQ will cost him though. We'll see. I think he's gonna have to show something a little bit different. You know, that's how different. That's how hard. That's what kind of challenge he has in front of him. He has to show something different in this fight, a wrinkle, if you will. He had to cut his pretty boy hair. That's how bad it was. Yeah. Oh, he's talking about Jin against Hiroka. Yeah. If you guys go and you watch Jin Sasaki versus Hiroka, he was bald. He was bald, and the reason he was bald is because he cut his hair off so that he can lose a couple ounces so he can make the weight. So that's what I'm saying. I don't hold that against him. I don't count that towards his durability. David S. with the bold prediction. He says Hiroka and Sasaki will go the distance. It is possible. Both guys have. Yeah, I can see it happening. You know, and it's very possible that one of them might come out and box at some point in the fight. So, you know, I don't rule that out. Although I will say, if it goes to a decision, I like Jin's chances of getting a decision more than even a knockout. That's probably my unpopular take of the fight. Is that I actually think there's a higher percentage chance Jin can win a decision than by stoppage. Only because not because I think he's like this better technical fighter than Brian Norman Jr., but I could see a scenario where he outworks or matches Brian Norman's punch output, and the Japanese judges give him the rounds. Will I be doing a live fight reaction when I come back from Japan? Hyro, what have I told you about asking me questions about the future? I don't know what I'm going live for. I'm just trying to get through this fight, get you guys this great content, keep pumping out these world-class videos, get you guys these great interviews, get to America in one piece, because I gotta stop in Vegas before I go to where I'm staying in America now these days. And then yeah, that's it. Like I'm not thinking that far ahead yet, but I'm sure at some point there will be a live for some fight. If you were to do one, would you watch Deontay Wilder? Would I go live for Deontay Wilder? I don't know, man. I gotta see the undercard. I don't like going live for some of these fights anymore. Like it's gonna be a fight I'm really excited about. So I don't know. Wilder's fighting a can. If he's fighting a can, like with all due respect, he's fighting a guy that he should run right through. You know. But look, on that note, guys, I'm gonna end the live. I'm gonna end the live. thank you guys for tuning in, for supporting. Make sure you guys stay tuned for all content regarding Brian Norman Jr. and Jin Sasaki. Definitely keep supporting the channel. You know, we're getting close to 88,000, so I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about hitting 90,000 because I'm not gonna really start thinking about that 100,000 number mark until I hit 90,000. So I'm trying to hit 90,000. We're getting very close to 88,000. And listen, when we hit 100,000, I'm gonna have a party in Las Vegas at Circa. You know, we're gonna have, you know, a lot of people there, and there'll be many attractive and beautiful women at this get together to celebrate 100,000 subscribers whenever it does happen. But anyway, till then, we'll keep doing our thing for boxing, working hard, and giving you guys the best content in boxing possible. So, see you guys on the next live. I'll go live tomorrow again. Harold said, "Why not South Florida?" I might do 3 of them. I might do one in Japan. I'm gonna do one in Vegas. I'm gonna do one in South Florida, and I'm gonna do one in Japan. We're gonna celebrate 3 times because it's been it will have been a long road to get to 100,000 subscribers, but the first one will be in Vegas. But yeah, stay tuned for the upcoming content. Thank you guys for your support, and like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.